Okay, as German has said, I'm chairman of something called Art for Life. And for Life is an initiative of the Lagos State Ministry of Health, which was established by the Commissioner and Mr. Governor to introduce art and the practice of art into the whole healthcare delivery system. And we were inaugurated in October 2019. And of course, by March 2020, the pandemic had set in. So one of the things we did during the pandemic, as German has made reference to, is between April and October 2020, we took musicians into the isolation centers every weekend on Saturday and Sunday to play for the patients and the health workers. Obviously, they were open air concerts. And we did this because music has a
recording in progress
ability, you know, and so for just those 2-3 hours, the patients were able to, you know, at least not forget, but at least be in a different emotional space. And there's that feeling of hope. And of course, for the health workers, it was a way of distressing for them. Something else that we've also done, we've painted murals around various hospitals in the States, and we also painted in some of the isolation centers as well, encouraging messages like, you know, get well soon, we care about you, get strong and all that. And it was very satisfying actually on social media afterwards to see that there was a patient and she had posted on her Twitter how she had been on admission in the isolation centers, and she had looked at the inspirational messages, and it would inspire her to keep on going. She would take her up to 18 tablets at a time. And the reason why we knew is because she tagged us in her post. And it was very inspirational. So that's the kind of thing we do. So as part of my Art for Life work, I met an organization called SERPIN. And SERPIN is the Society for the Research and Prevention of Suicide in Nigeria. They were established in Luth, and now they're established in almost all the states in Nigeria. And I was very touched when I met the founder and we had discussions, and I was shocked to find out how prevalent suicide actually is in this country. In fact, we are, according to some indices, we are number 5 on the list. And because it's something that really tends to affect young people more than older people, I felt that there must be things that can be done so that there can be more conversations around it, because I really believe that if you can begin to have conversations, then you are halfway. Thank you. Then you're halfway to the solution. Because if you don't talk about something, then there can never be a solution. So I was in conversation with Bookcraft, my publisher, and I was like, is there something we can do? And he said, look, you are the writer, you do something. So I thought about it, and I thought, you know, something like suicide is such a heavy topic that prose wouldn't do it justice. It would be difficult to wade through pages and pages and pages of what essentially is sad. So I decided I would write a series of short poems. As you can see, it's quite a little book. And they're written from the perspective of somebody who has died by suicide and is now attending their own waykeeping. And I think that apart from the suicide angle, I think that all of us really would like to know what people think about us. I mean, wouldn't you like to attend your own waykeeping, really, and hear all the wonderful things they say about you that they've not said while you're here? I mean, isn't that why they say, give your flowers while you're here, right? So I'm going to I'm not sure how we're doing, so I'm going to start with, so The first one I'm going to read is called Leaving. So this is written before our narrator departs. Have you noticed how difficult it is? Even those who are desperately ill often wait for friends and family to leave the room, to leave the hospital, to leave the country even, before they themselves can depart, rather than try to say goodbye and face the inevitable pleas, the recriminations, and the promises. So, I, in the whole of my health, don't yet know how to take my leave, cannot formulate the right phrases or seek out the words to tell you that I'm sure you'll be fine, how really it's all for the best. I'm just going over there to stop the world whirring and to catch my breath. I won't be a minute, but I'll be gone for more than a while. This unknowing keeps me here, tethered by your future everything, stopping my plans in place. The realistic ones, I mean, simple and quick, hopefully not messy, though I don't think that's for certain. Still, better than the overly complex, bound to fail. Because if I don't say goodbye, imprinting myself on your being, how will you recognize me when I say hello in your dreams? Okay, seems we're not yet on, so shall I carry on?
I'm here with you. Hello.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Duque.
Hello.
Thank you very much. I was listening to you.
Fantastic.
I was listening to you. And I love the work you are doing so far. Based on, I know that we're going to talk more about your work.
Okay.
And then as well hear you read more from your book.
Super.
So before then, let me briefly welcome everyone and tell you what we've been doing with Praxis Hangout on and the work we're trying to do around mental health in Nigeria, especially in the creative sector. So
yes, please go on.
You talked about how you were surprised by the number of suicide cases that we have in the country. I think my shock was with the number of documented mental illness, cases of mental illness in the country. And I know that we have way more undocumented cases.
Could you speak up? I'm not sure if we can hear you well. Yes?
Can you hear me well?
Yeah. Put some more volume.
Yeah, I've done that. Can you hear me well now?
Yeah, that's much better. Thanks.
Okay. So I said that you mentioned that you were surprised by the number of suicide cases in the country. Mm-hmm. And I said that my surprise was with the number of documented cases of mental illness in the country. And given that we used to believe that this is a luxurious illness, so to speak, and on the street of Nigeria, most people believe that is a white man's sickness. So what we've been doing with Praxis, we've had partnership with a lot of organizations. We've been organizing community engagement. We go from one community to another. We've been to about 7 states so far in Nigeria, where we bring in experts from the field, mental health experts. We bring in religious leaders, traditional rulers to come and have conversation around this subject.
Okay.
So what we are going to be doing today, like you have started, you've set the ball rolling. We're going to focus on the creative sector. So we'll have people share their experiences. We'll have people like Ms. Aduke Gomez share her experience with the work that she has done. We also have Mariam Aliko, whom I would like to speak next, share with us the work that she has been doing with Maria Cotti, and recently the work that she has been doing with some psychiatrists. So, Mariam, are you on? Are you with us? Mariam Aliko? Hello, Mariam. Okay, I don't think Mariam is ready to speak yet. So I'll come back to you, Ms. Gomez.
Yes.
Hello?
Ms. Aduke.
Hello?
Okay, Mariam is here. Mariam is here. Hello,
Hi,
Mariam.
TJ. Hello. I am sorry my video is not going to be on.
Okay, no problem. No problem.
I hope it doesn't matter. So
No, it doesn't.
I'm a bit out of breath. I was outside working. Anyway, so
Can
thank you
can
very
quickly
much, everyone.
talk to us about the work that you've been doing around mental health in Nigeria, especially in northern Nigeria?
I think ours is pretty, something that has risen out of a lot of experiences that we've had, not only with creative sector, but more with women. Women are really, really going through a lot in terms of mental health, and so are men. But because of the way that our society is, especially in northern Nigeria,
Hello, Mariam.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Hear me, TJ? Hello, can you
Yeah, I
hear me?
think.
Next person, let me try and see.
Yep. Hello.
Okay. So, Ms. Aduke,
Yes. Hello.
I'm coming back to you.
Okay.
Talk to us about your work so far in the area of mental health, and tell us, I would like to know what piqued your interest? How did you get here?
Okay. So my work is in Art for Life, which is an initiative of the Lagos State Ministry of Health, and was established in October 2019 to introduce art and the practice of art into the entire healthcare process. So during part of my work, I met the founder of an organization called SERPIN, and SERPIN is the Suicide Prevention and Research Network in Nigeria. And I had several conversations with the founder, and I was really, really very touched and at the prevalence of suicide, how widespread it is, and how it affects a predominantly young age group. It's also something that's not spoken about. It's something that's a taboo, and I felt that if I could do something that could begin to have engender conversations around this. And when I spoke to my publisher, he was like, "You're the writer, you go and think of something." So I thought, okay, I would write a series of short poems. This is the book, see, it's not very big, which would be written from the perspective of somebody who has died by suicide and has now come back to attend her own waykeeping. And so for the purpose of argument, we'll use she. So she attends her own waykeeping, and during the waykeeping, she makes several reflections and observations on what has happened to her and what led her to do what she did. I think that it's also sad because we don't have enough professional help in this country. There are not enough psychiatrists to treat depression and all the gamut of mental health disease. So that's why the work I do in Art for Life is because art is particularly useful in dementia, mental health, anxiety, anything that you can use where creativity can be brought in to assist the healing process. So even just writing about your experiences, painting them. I mean, if you think of, for instance, there's a very famous Brazilian artist who suffered from schizophrenia and was in the mental home for over 50 years. But he created such beautiful, stunning works of art that he's now a a national icon in Brazil. So I think that we have to come to the stage where we understand that we have to use art, we have to focus on art, we have to rein in the powers of how art and its healing powers. And I think particularly with people who suffer from mental health issues, this is a field in which they can really, really benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that beautiful insight. And I agree with you about the lack of enough help when it comes to mental health in Nigeria, and also about the arts, because I have lived with bipolar disorder all my life, and I didn't know until a few years back. And what the psychiatrist told me, and what my therapists have constantly told me, is that writing helps. And that's why at the time, that's why I had never thought about suicide, because I had an outlet. So, and
that's the word.
So I
outlet.
agree. Yes. So I agree with you that art, and it's a lovely thing to see that you are doing that on a grand scale. This is what we're trying to achieve as well with what we do with our platform, which we'll have this conversation after the program, because I believe that the art is very crucial in first, spreading the awareness, and then secondly, in seeking solutions as well. So my next question to you, I love that you mentioned that what you do, that you walk in.
Is it them or us? You see, how do we know? How do we know? You see, that's the problem. We always assume it's the other person. It could be us. You don't know, because all you can see is me here on the camera. It might not be. See. See?
Recording in progress.
Hello.
Hello.
Did you hear me?
Hello. No, you froze.
You froze for a minute.
No. Okay, so we are laughing here because you froze to us, and I see that we froze to you. So you see, so that's it.
You froze to me. Okay, so let me repeat what I said.
Please.
I said, since you work in collaboration with the Lagos State government, I would like us to talk about.
Can you speak up, because we don't have your back? Okay.
Okay. I said, since you work in collaboration with the Lagos State government, I want us to talk about policies. Let's talk about legislation. I am aware that the first attempt to get a new bill, get a new law that attends to mental health needs was not successful. But I'm aware that there's another bill in the works currently. But at Lagos State level, first of all, at Lagos State level, then at the federal level, what are the things that you think government would do as far as policy is concerned that to help first in the destigmatization of mental illness, and then secondly, to make help readily available and easily affordable for those who are living with these illnesses?
Okay, so a first disclaimer is that I'm not here to speak on behalf of government. Art for Life is set up. No, Art for Life is set up, but it's not. I don't work for government. So, but a few things I do know that Lagos State has done. Lagos State has worked with the Ministry of Justice to try and ensure that suicide is no longer a crime, at least in Lagos State, because, or rather, attempted suicide, because previously, or in fact, it is the case in the
even now, yes, even now,
in the rest of the country, but Lagos State is working towards the Ministry of Justice so that at least in Lagos State, attempted suicide will not be an offense, because of course, what happens is that if you attempt suicide and maybe you've been recovered, you're charged with an offense and taken to prison. Obviously, that's not the way to rehabilitate people. It can't be an offense. Obviously, it's a cry for help. There should be medical intervention. So I know that they're doing that. I also know that they're building a 500-bed facility, which will be dedicated to mental health and mental health issues. So mental health is on the front burner of Lagos State Ministry of Health. I'm aware of that. And I think as well, beyond that, even the setting up of Art for Life shows the intention that the entire society should be well, because it's not just because you're ill that you should be engaging in arty things. And a society that is creative, that has, to use your word, has outlets, that recognizes the importance of art in a person's, in the life of the people. You are working towards a more healthy, balanced frame of mind, which should be able to alleviate some of the pressures that we have.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. So I do know, I'm glad, I was going to do that as a follow-up question. I'm glad you mentioned that attempted suicide is a crime and that Lagos State government is working. Did I freeze again?
Yes, you did. Right? Shall I do a quick reading? So you can join us, right? So this is Attending My Own Wake, Part 1. I don't know why I came, really.
Recording in progress.
Okay, I'm doing, okay, well, you just have to listen for a while. So, I don't know why I came, really. It's just as I thought it would be, boring, but with an underlying dread anxiety, like sitting in a waiting room in a dream, unsure what awaits behind the gilt doors, or perhaps at the dentist's, when they say they're taking out all of your teeth. Grim. Not grin, I said grim. Oh, do keep up. We are being serious here. Heightened emotions, weeping and all that. The hall seems a bit empty. Do you think there are enough chairs? You never know who's going to show up or if anyone will at all. You don't send out invites to these things, so obviously no RSVPs in return. It's all guesswork. There's a metaphor somewhere in there. I'll work it out in a minute. The flowers are great though. Pink tiger lilies and yellow roses, rather than the usual dreary white. Just what I'd have picked. The surprise of them makes you smile. Not back. As we came in silent by the side door, admiring the flower displays, I'd have liked to have maybe ever so softly pinched a petal, releasing the fragrance onto my fingertips and stroking it behind my ears. Not the time for that now. Can you imagine? Quickly, sit down here, beside me. Closer if you like. My hands are cold. They shouldn't have the AC on so high. Not everyone likes to freeze in Africa. I've always liked this song. How about you? Pity that soloist's not singing it very well. Sounds like she has a sore throat. What do you think? Perhaps it's the cold air. I think it's affecting her voice. It's blowing right at her. Shall I turn it off? No? Sure? Okay. I know her though, a friend of sorts. Maybe she has a sore heart. Look at them all sniffling. Why didn't she say? If only I'd known. Do you see the one bawling in the corner? Didn't return my phone calls for weeks. The other one staring vacantly, postponed our meetups until I lost track. Ah well, c'est la vie, they say, until suddenly it's not.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Gomez.
And I think we are back. Okay, welcome back.
Yeah, actually, there's something going on. Whenever it freezes, the other people still tell me that they can hear me. So I guess the problem is between me and you.
I hope not.
Okay, so we'll go back. Thank you very much, Ms. Gomez. We'll go back to Mariam Aliko. Ms. Mariam, are you ready? Hello, Mariam. Okay, if Mariam is not ready, Ekaite. Hello, Ekaite George, can you hear me?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello, Ekaite.
For calling me up, even though I don't know what I'm supposed to say right now. I came late to the party, so I was more like, let me listen in a little bit before I will know what to say or if there's need to say anything. But if you have
Hello, can you hear us?
On the flyer.
Hello, Ekaite. Can they, on our Zoom, can they see us? Okay, so it's them that have. Should I continue with the impromptu entertainment? Yeah. Okay. So, IT, are they back? Okay, so this is actually, because I guess I'm entertaining, I'm doing my own interviewing of myself. So this is actually my favorite part. Part 7. Don't be mad that the waters over my head were finally more than welcoming. The lagoon doesn't judge. How could it? It holds the secrets to this city. Now it holds mine. Come talk to me sometimes. Weekends are best, really. For you as well, that's perfect. Let's plan it. Take a boat ride, a local one, from those men under the bridge. Not one of those expensive ones, though, with the loud engines and the blaring music, or you won't be able to hear me sing. I'll be there. Just
Recording in progress.
Be sure to visit early at sunup. Just you in a fiberglass bottom boat, wooden planks for seating, with a crew of 2 men and a child who begged to tag along. Then, once they cut the engine, in the silence before the day stretches out, if you feel the boat suddenly rock, almost capsizing on the now perfectly still water, you can laugh and be proud, and finally making waves. We'll talk all day like we always did, but you'll have to leave before sunset. And when you get back to shore, the church bells will salute you, still chiming out for early morning mass. Yeah, I know. It's fine. You'll get used to the changing time zones. You'll overhear that little boat boy trying to impress his friends. Are you back?
Yes, I've been here.
Okay, we couldn't hear you.
Oh, I've been here. I thought there was sort of a disconnect between here and you.
We never went off, actually. Ekaike was still speaking, and then it's jumped to you reading, Ms. Gomez.
Okay, no, but my audience can vouch for me. Did we hear them?
Oh, it's the internet. It's the internet. So sorry. But I hope, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me now at CORA?
Yes, we can.
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. So once again, hello to everyone in the audience and those at home as well. So I was going to say that something piqued my interest when I saw the invitation to this event. And I thought that it is good for us to think about creatives who have attempted, due to one extreme of mental health illness or the other, to take their lives or any other extreme things. But it's also good to think about the rest of the people who will never be pushed to that kinds of extreme, but will not do well because they are struggling with all of the things that put our minds in danger and stifle our creativity. As creative people, I speak with lots of persons, and I can say that we are struggling with taking control of our minds, in addition to being creative, producing our art, and also functioning in society as a whole. For instance, as writers, we understand that if you are writing, you have to make a living outside of writing, except for a few people who have been able to write and make a living. The books they are selling or the other things they're doing within that we are in a economy which is killing, and then we have
IT, how far? Can they hear us? And then they will say that we are the ones just doing as we like here. IT, do you want to phone them? No, yes, I know, but if they can hear us. So, do we continue doing what we like, or we sit in silence? People, you can choose. I should, okay. So I have, you see, the Oga has spoken. Okay, so shall we go back to the beginning? Okay, so I'm going to read one called Pity Party. This one to me imagines the thought processes that people have. Pity Party. I listened. I really did. And I did try to do what you said. You said I should listen to you, that I must gather my thoughts, brace up, and most importantly, I shouldn't have a pity party. I tried to tell you, if this was a party, I certainly wasn't planning it, sending out invites to all manners of darkness to come wallow with me in the guilt and indecision of grief. Who would? unless
Someone
maybe...
Recording in
with mental
progress.
illness, it can be a lot,
Sorry.
a big deal, something that they need help with to be able to do. But most often, you would find that what you really need is just put your head down and sleep. Now, these are things that we need to be able to have help when we need it, not when we have gotten to the point where we cannot get help unless we have to take medications along with the different other kinds of help we can get. So we need to step in here. Some of us who have experienced the extremes of it, we've gone far off into the middle. We need to step in here and be of help to the people who are coming after us, to say, listen, you need to take time to read, you need to take time to disconnect, you need to take time to do this and that and that. You need to seek this kind of help. It's expensive, so if you need money to do it, you need to find how to access the funds to be able to do that. It's a whole lot. But there are people who have no idea. I had no idea. The first time I went to the hospital and the doctor said, oh, you have anxiety, she gave me drugs. I took it back to the house. I didn't take anyone anyway, because I thought, I've heard a lot about all of these medicines. I don't want to become dependent on them. So I started to find other ways to cope with my anxiety. I don't know if it has gotten better, but I'm still dealing with anxiety issues. Now, at that time, I didn't know that there was a thing like that, and I could be dealing with a thing like that. And then I know that there are people coming after us who are creatives, who are struggling, who are trying to make sense of the different things that is happening in their minds. The rest of us must keep the conversation going. We must let them know that it's fine. It's okay for you to get up and feel confused. It's okay for you to get up some days and feel like you don't want to do anything. But it's not okay for you to stay there. It's up to you to look for help. It's up to you to do this and that for yourself, so you can get out of it. The government is not going to be able to do everything for us, as we know already. Even the basic things that they're supposed to do, they are not doing it. So waiting on them will be like setting ourselves up for disappointment. But we definitely should be able to lead the way, you know, to shine the torch for those who are coming behind us, so that they don't fall into the deep pits that we ourselves have fallen into in some instances, and still be able to, they can be their creative best, because they're able to keep their minds in check. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ekaite. Like you said, the conversation is already happening. We just need to amplify it. And when we have more people like you and I talking about what we go through, it helps first to make others understand that they are not alone. And then secondly, it helps in making those around people who may be going through any form of mental illness understand, appreciate what they are going through, and also understand how to help, or how to just not complicate issues. For instance, until yesterday, I was still not feeling too good. Even up to this morning, I wasn't sure I would be able to sit here and be part of this conversation. But like you said, it takes effort. Even though it is not easy, the healing process takes a lot of effort. I also remember what I've been told, that actual healing happens outside the therapist's office. So, you know, the need for consistency, the need to keep trying to show up. And I told myself, it's better I go ahead to do this. And even if I don't, if it doesn't go as well as I had planned or expected it to, it will be better than not showing up at all. So it's important for us to keep sharing the battles that we go, that we win every day, so that we can motivate each other. I don't know if Mariam is back here. Mariam is still not back. And I think we're still disconnected from Lagos.
No, we are here. Can you hear us?
Okay, we're reconnected to Lagos now.
Yes. I just wanted to respond, if I could, to what Ekaite said. I mean,
go ahead, please.
I think I agree with most of it, but I think your comment on that it's up to the people who are suffering. It is to an extent, but I think more than that, it's up to their family and friends to support them, because I think that onus on them having to make the effort, it's an added pressure. And I think one of the reasons why I did write my book was to be able to have conversations where people who have these kind of problems, their friends and their families can look at them, can think, oh, okay, let's be kinder, let's be more inclusive, let's try and guide them to where they can seek professional help. Because I think unfortunately, a lot of people who are suffering, we tend to leave them to suffer alone. And we find that, if people have become depressed, they're reclusive, if she wants to stay like that, she should stay like that. And then it comes as a surprise. Whereas if we can be kinder, and just reach out and just say, okay, look, it's beyond me, but I know who perhaps you can talk to professionally. I hope that will make a difference.
I agree with you. Having a very solid support system is important. I'll use myself as an example. I've been down. I had my first major breakdown was in 2016, and for over a year, throughout 2017, I was I was a vegetable throughout 2017. Then 18, I started therapy for the first time, got better. 2019, I had a very bumper year, very lovely, creative, and rewarding year. Then towards the end of 2020, I had a breakdown, and throughout this year, I've been sick. I've been away from work. I've been away from a lot of things. And for the first time, many months ago, I actually tried to take my own life for the first time ever. But what has helped me between then and now, what has made a lot of difference between when I tried that and now, is the support system, my friends, the people around me, the people who mostly, at first it was strange to them. They didn't know what's going on. But through conversation, some of them had to go and read about this online, watch a lot of talk on YouTube, and go with me to therapy, talk to me about what's going on. All of this now gives me a semblance of hope. And I now feel like, okay, I have a team. I have a tag team to fight this thing, to confront this thing with. So I agree with what you said. The support system is crucial. It's critical to getting better. Go ahead, Ms. Gomez.
Because I understand that it can be a very lonely battle. And when you're fighting alone, you get tired. And that support team around you can make you feel that there's a reason to stay. Because sometimes when you have suicide ideation, you think, if I end it, it's a solution, although in actual fact, it's creating more problems for the people who you've left behind. But when you read the stories of survivors and you talk to therapists, that feeling of, there are people who will miss me, there are people who care about me, there are people who want me to do better, there are people who want me to succeed, will sometimes act as a pause. And you think, and the person who has those intentions may think, okay, you know what, let me just stay for today. And so yes, I do think that a support team is absolutely, and I'm so glad to hear that you have one. And I wish them and you continued success. And now you have my number, so please call me anytime.
Thank you very much. And to add to that, before we move on to someone else, to add to what you just said, besides the team, I think hope. I think what drives us to that point is when we feel there's no longer hope. That was the point I was at the time. So, but I thought about the work I've put in the past 10, 15 years, the results that I've seen, the people whose life I've impacted, the things I have created, the people who need me for them to continue to have good lives. And then, most importantly, the things I could achieve in my future. So I believe that hope is very integral to winning this battle.
Exactly.
I think
exactly.
I totally agree with both of you. Sorry to have to cut in. I totally agree with you. And ma'am, I wasn't meaning that the people who are suffering are going to do it alone. What I meant was those of us who are speaking like you are, I'm sure you have so much experience about this, from reading to writing to experiences, people you know, should have more of these kinds of conversations and create opportunities to carry people who may not even understand what they are passing through along. Yeah, that's what I meant. But absolutely, you are perfectly correct. Without a support system,
it's very difficult.
Anyone will buckle. Anyone will buckle.
I think so. I think so. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, so I said Mariam is still not back. She has not rejoined us,
Okay.
and she was going to talk about the work that she does in northern Nigeria, and then also share some tips on how to get better generally. So I'm going to speak a little about what she said, about what she's done, because we've partnered once in Kaduna State, where we talked with, like I said earlier, we brought together so the chief imam of the Kaduna State, we brought a bishop, we brought an anti-drug advocate, we brought in different people. We got a lot of married people, a lot of young people, mostly Muslims, who opened up for the first time about the things that they were going through. So it reinforces that talk, that need for advocacy, and I really wish she could join us so that to share her experiences with us. So, but moving on, since she's not here, I'm coming back to you, Ms. Gomez, before I return to Ekaite. I'd like for you to share with us some of the tips, some of the hacks that you have come across so far, that you have heard people in the field share with others, that you yourself have also tried to teach people living with mental health, even from stories you heard from survivors. What are the common tips that you think we should take into consideration so that it can make our journey easier and, hasten our healing?
I would hesitate to say tips, but I do think that as a society, we have to move away from demonizing this mental health. We have to move away from people who have mental health issues being taken to religious institutions for prayer, which is all well and good, but the prayer has to go along with active medical intervention as well. I think that understanding kindness, which I've referred to before, and just giving people the space in which to be able to say, I'm not feeling well, the same way if you break a leg, the same way you can say, you should be able in school or at work to be able to say, I'm not feeling well, I have to go to the therapist without anybody thinking, there's something wrong here. In the same way, if you had a broken leg, they would say, and you say, oh, I'm going to hospital for a broken leg. Oh, sorry. But if you say, oh, I have a broken brain, sorry, okay. And so I think we have to move away from that stigma. I think that we have to find a way in which conversations around these topics are held. And because if we don't talk about something, there can't be a solution. The more you keep things inside and you repress it, one day it will just explode up in your face. So yep. I think conversations, taking time to talk with other people, both as the sufferer to try and find trusted people who you speak to, and also as friends and family of people who suffer, to be more observant. Oh, he seems a bit not quite himself. Let me ask him, is he okay? Does he want to go out for a drink? Does he want to go to the cinema? Does he want to go and hang out? Those kind of things. I mean, and perhaps to be less, what's the word? When you just concentrate on yourself and just try and be a bit more inclusive and understanding of your friends and family. That's what I would suggest.
Okay, so for what I like that you touched the religious aspect, because right now we have lots of traditional and religious healers springing up. I used to be angry at people who take their family and loved ones to such places. But I realize now that most of these people do it out of love. It's ignorance, though.
Yes.
It's driven largely by ignorance, but they do it out of love. They don't mean to harm these people. And I know this because it happened to me. I don't know if you can see my hands. I have marks on my hands and all over my body. Those marks were, I got them from a church because my family took me there when I was a child. It's barely a teenager. And they thought, the pastor said I was possessed, and he tried to mark me for Jesus so that the demons that he had forced out of me wouldn't return in thousands, But some 15, 20 years later, I realized that it was bipolar all along. So, but I know my family loved me. I was angry with my family. I left my family for I left home when I was 16. And I left my family for a very long time. I was angry at them. But later on, especially when I got into to study more about this illness, I realized they acted out of ignorance. And this is why it is very important that we amplify conversations like this and even take them to such places.
Yes, and I do think it's incumbent upon the religious institutions to educate themselves.
Yes.
And to not aggregate to themselves all the power of healing. Because
yes,
medical intervention helps. Prayer helps, but you cannot have one and just concentrate on one and think everything else will disappear. And so I do think that because religious institutions are such a large part of our society, I think it's incumbent upon them to be able to talk about it, to move past.
Be on the forefront.
Yes, and to move past, suicide is a sin. Okay, that may be the belief, it's because you take that thought process that you understand how suicide is a sin and therefore it's a crime. Okay, because because the same way that it's a crime to kill.
Killing is a sin.
Yes, it's the same way that it's a crime to kill any of God's creations. So you can't murder somebody else. In the same way, you can't kill yourself but you have to remove that belief process to be able to treat the person who has those thoughts. And I think that our religious communities should try and find a way in which they can encourage those of their community who have those thoughts to seek intervention.
Okay. So before we come back to the medical intervention aspect of our conversation, I would like to throw this to the audience. If there's anyone who has a contribution or a question to ask, our audience, both those online and those in Lagos, if anyone has a question, contribution, anything, or you have a personal story you would like to share.
Anybody here? Yes, we have somebody here. Can you have a mic, please? Maybe you want to come here so that the camera can see you.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
please. Yes, please.
Hello.
Come a bit forward so because
Hello.
yeah,
Good
move
afternoon.
back to me. See, because you can see yourself there. So when you see yourself, move
Okay.
back. Okay, look at yourself on the screen. Move back, move back, move back. To the side, yeah. Yeah, to the side. No, up. This way. Okay, come and sit beside me. No, sit beside me. Okay, now move forward. Almost, yeah, great. Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Really, it's kind of a coincidence. Talking about suicide, yeah, and I did a performance on suicide, sorry, and this topic is something I really bothered myself about because I grew up thinking only the whites commit suicide. because we Africans, we Nigerians, we have this mind of saying, no, I can't face such situations. So like, until, like, was it 5 years ago or 4 years ago, suicide became something very, very, as in something very, very common that people would just go to the water side, jump inside the, I was wondering, what is happening? Until I felt depressed at some point and I thought of suicide. Then I, like, wow, what is happening? And it happens to a friend again. And I began to make my research on it. And I saw a couple of incidents and people writing their stories on suicide. I began to read suicide notes. And I feel like these suicide notes have the qualities of a good book. If you look at any suicide note, you'll be like, how would someone write this thing and still commit suicide? Then, I want to ask a question here before I go deep to what I was saying. We're talking about family, being involved, or how they can support a person facing depression, leading to suicide. Then, I want to ask, what do you expect the family to do to that kind of person? And in most cases, even the family don't know. Because let me tell an incident that I found out about writing this story about suicide and this Friday performance. There's a woman, she borrowed money. This woman is known to be somebody that she's very, how should I put it? She believes she can handle her situation. She doesn't want to involve the family or anybody in her situation. So she went to borrow money to start a business so she can take care of her children. Because she's a widow, actually. Then things began to change. She could not afford to pay the debt. Then she took her life. People began to ask, well, how will you take your life? If you ask me how much is she owing, she's owing 40K. Then people began to ask, how would she commit suicide for 40K? She should at least tell the church, even though she can't tell the family. She didn't tell anybody. And she dropped a note that this is why I'm committing suicide. I can't face a lot of people seeing that I'm owing and I'll feel disgraced. So, and many situations, like even a girl that wrote to her mom before she died, she said, my cousin raped me several times, and nobody know about it. Why didn't you tell your mom or your dad? Because maybe she said, because you don't have time for her. Honestly. No, we see, is it something how can we get involved with these people? Because they don't talk. We don't know. We only provide solutions for problems that we know. So what can be done about it?
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Ms. Gomez. Go ahead.
Okay, right, okay. Let's take the last one. What can be done about it? I think, again, it's a continuum, isn't it, really? So before somebody decides they are going to take their life, most people don't wake up and think, I'm going to do that now. There would have been a series of problems that seem harder and harder and harder. The woman who you referred to who had the debt, obviously there was nobody around her who she felt she could speak to. Now, whether that is in fact the case or whether that is her perception, we'll obviously never know. But one thing I will say is that suicide leaves its mark on the people who are left behind. It seems like a solution to the person who has done so, but for the people who are left behind, they've lost a loved one, usually in a violent way. I mean, because the common ways are, poison, killing yourself, hanging yourself. I mean, it's not an easy thing to face up to, that this is what a parent did, this is what a child did, this is what even a friend did. And you are left with always the questions, why? Why didn't they ask me? Why didn't they tell me? Why didn't they say? And so I think that as a society, we have to look at ourselves and say, are we presenting ourselves as people who people can say these things to? So the young girl who was raped that you have referred to, at the point at which she was raped, did she feel that if she told that to her mother, would she have felt that the mother would have been supportive and understanding, or would she have felt it would have compounded the problems? I don't have answers. I don't have answers. There are professionals who have studied this and who obviously do have answers. But I do think that talking and having spaces where people can feel not judged and where people can feel accepted for who they are, I do think will go a long way. And I just wanted to make a quick point to your comment that you didn't think that suicide was something that Africans did. I just wanted to point out to you that amongst the Yoruba at least, there's a ritual where if the king is not accepted any longer by the people who he rules over, you know, they give him either an empty calabash or they give him a calabash with a parrot's egg. And at which point, if he's given that, he's supposed to go into his room, organize his business, and that's the end of him. So I think that if you think about that and compare it to the Japanese honorable system of harakiri, where they also have that, I think you can see that it's not something that is technically strange, at least amongst the Yoruba, as I hesitate to use the word solution, but as a way of getting things done.
Yeah, okay. So nice comparison there. And I think it happened across a lot of culture, what you just said. But going back to his question, I would say why people don't talk is, first, it's not even the shame. The shame is secondary, I think. But for me, the first thing is there's a stage where you just can't talk. You know that you need help. It's like you are free floating, you are free falling into this abyss, this very endless pit. And there's nothing you can do about what the fall. So you just keep going. At some point, you just want to go and see where it takes you. That's the first thing that I think happens. At least that's what happens in my case. And then secondly, there's the consideration that you do not want to bother other people unnecessarily. And you're worried about, if I tell this person this how I'm feeling, there's going to be, I guess this is where the stigma comes in. There's going to be the issue of, man, not be only you. Everybody in life hard, man, not too focused. And then look at how he said, the person who asked the question said, how much did she kill herself over? And he said, it's 40K. So there's this thing, and you know, to me, to him, to us, 40K is something that could have been easily solved. But until you are in that person's shoe, you probably would not see how big the problem is. It will probably always look smaller to you from the outside. What the reason why they took their lives. And then in therapy, there's something that the experts say. There's something that my therapists have been taking me through. It's called cognitive restructuring. So when you are, especially when you're dealing with depression, your outlook, your overview, the way you approach life and every problem is very dark. You have the tendency to amplify, to exaggerate every problem. So if you are depressed or dealing with a depressive episode, and you walk to a mall and somebody tells you, hey, you can't enter here without your face mask, it could simply be something as simple as that. And then it becomes a problem, it becomes a trigger. And then you're like, oh, it's because I don't have money. It's because I am ugly. It's because this person thinks my clothes are tattered. That's why they're talking to me this way. And it triggers you. And that alone could lead to, if care is not taken, other thoughts. And then you remember other things in the past. And then finally, what I would say about why it's difficult to talk, in my own case, I have had to, I was just speaking to a friend about how I've discovered a pattern to my life. Every 4 years, what has happened in my life is that every 4 years I have had to have major breakdown because this thing has been going on for over, I'm 31. So this thing, I was born with bipolar. So this thing has been going on for 31 years without treatment. So it keeps getting worse. And what that means is that every 4 years, making money is easy to me. I make money easily. I build things easily. But every 4 years, I lose everything. Because what happens is I get disinterested in everything. I stop talking to people. I stop doing what I love. I just withdraw into myself. And then I start to lose money. I start to lose business. And then my business is crumble. And then after a year, I have to now rebuild. 4 years later, that happened. So this year, when that happened, I thought, what's the essence? Why do I want to rebuild anything? Only to lose again in 4 years. And that was the point where I said, I thought about ending things. But, thankfully, I've come to learn that this can be managed through medication and through behavioral therapy. And in the past few months, I have learned a lot. I'm learning how to manage this. And now I have hope. I know that I would never get to that point again. And that I'm learning things, techniques. And the beautiful thing is that I'm working with very awesome people. One thing that I've found essential is the lack of judgment. I have people who are patient with me, people who say, talk to me, say what's on your mind, I would not judge you. And people who are saying, we are open to trying every technique until we find what works for you.
I'm happy to hear it. That's lovely. So I think we should just start to call you Phoenix, right?
Oh, yes, I like that. I like that. So I do not know if there's any other contribution or questions again.
Yes. I just wanted to, can I say something?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. So I was just going to add briefly that suicide notes, though illuminating, cannot tell the real picture of the illness of the mind. At the point at which anyone is putting this thing down, the person is ill. So some people use these notes and live with guilt all through their life. Perhaps the person said, oh, Ekaite didn't say good morning to me today. That's why I'm going. And I live with it the rest of my life. Oh, I wish I had said good morning to the person wouldn't have gone. That person at that point that they are putting down this note is ill. And as illuminating as it may be, it cannot tell the full picture of everything. So there's someone who is owing 40,000 naira. And there might be trauma from childhood of maybe 40 years ago that the person is now taking out and, finding a way out at the age of 40 or 50. And you're saying, oh, it's just 40,000 naira. So you begin to ask people to tell you when they owe 40,000 naira. It's not as simple as that. It's an illness that we're talking about here. From anxiety to depression to the bigger ones, there's no easy way out of it. But the thing is, we know that this thing exists, and if we're experiencing it or we know someone who is experiencing it, there are little ways we can help each other to deal with it. For instance, we have established here that we must learn to talk. When you're in a state, it's not the easiest thing to do. To talk is not the easiest thing to do. But we are saying we must learn, and then if we know someone who is struggling, we have to try and draw them out. I think that's something that I've found helpful, and I like to point to people who are struggling as well, is to try and be of help to other people in my lowest. So I tell you that, and my children are here, I'm a bit concerned about saying it, I have to say it here, that some days I get up because I have to take care of people. I have to take care of them. I have to take care of my mom who lives with me. So I have to get up and I have to go to the market. I have to go to, do whatever it is to take care of them. And I take those responsibilities very seriously. I imagine that my day-to-day sometimes is able to come and go because I know those responsibilities are there. I don't even think about myself at that time. So imagine that I was like, oh, this kid, let me drop out somewhere for someone. Oh, mom, go be with somebody else. I probably could have been lost. I don't know. Yeah. So I like to recommend it to other people that at this point where you feel like there's no way out, if you were to open your eye to the left or to the right, further a little bit, you will find someone struggling. A lot of strength comes from helping other people and taking because that helps you to take your mind away from yourself a little bit. Yeah. perhaps by the time you return, the things that felt like they were going to swallow you up are not quite as big as they used to be. And then I've also learned, and this is a difficult one, but I've learned how to stay positive. How to stay positive about things and situations. I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, my mom has been having heart failure since 2013, and she lives with me. It's been challenging, to say, to put it mildly. And within the past 2 or 3 weeks, she's been in a bad state. And I have to deal with that and deal with myself as well. And then yesterday, we went to do a chest x-ray. And as I was waiting for the radio, what do they call those people, to call her name so I can go wheel her in, I heard wheelchair come into the hall. They were rushing in the wheelchair, and my heart sank. I thought, oh, what has happened to mom? Maybe something happened and they had to rush her in. And the wheelchair came in, but it wasn't mom. It was some other woman whose neck was hanging. You know how she carried that. She was just in a bad state. And I thought, my heart sank. Then immediately I did something that I didn't believe I could do, but I did it and it helped me. And I said, but this is how people get to this state and then they come back alive. It's a wonderful thing, this life we live. You would find that people would be so bad and then they're back to life. I just started thinking how people get so down. Like last year, mom was in oxygen for 3 weeks, going to a month, and then all of a sudden she came back to life miraculously. I took my mind to that state and I stayed there for a while. I stayed there for like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. I'll tell you, it made a lot of difference. And that was not an easy place to go.
I can imagine.
So
yes.
I like to recommend that it is this work of taking care of our minds. We will need others to help us, but the bulk of it is in our hands. It was Bishop T.D. Jakes. I was listening to something he said somewhere. He said the battle is in the mind. It is a battleground. It is a battlefield. Some days I'm bloodied and I'm everything. Thank God. Some days I get up and I'm like, I'm in this fight. Some days I feel like, oh, I've been beaten today and I'm down. But I just hope and pray that I find the strength to every now and then remember to get up and say, the fight is on and I'm fighting. I don't care how it ends, but I know that this fight is going to be a fight to the end of it. Because there really is no way out of it. It's a battle. You win today, the next month it comes. And I wonder, and I'm like, oh my God, I've been so positive this whole couple months. This month, I'm all like, what is wrong with me? And then I get up and tell myself, like, okay, there's nothing wrong with you. You're in a fight. You keep going. So it's up to us to keep fighting. But to say that someone has gotten to the age and has left and you want to sit down and understand everything, it's not something we can do. And it's not something we should do. Rather, we should look out and be compassionate to the people who are here and try and prevent other people getting to that end that, we all fear.
That's really inspiring. Be positive, have gratitude, and as you said, we only have one life, so we should try and focus on it, and and do it the best we can, because there's no repetition, as far as we all know.
There's no bugging the need for us to stay positive throughout all of this. So I have a question here that I'm going to read. Tapa says, besides platforms like this, what other advocacy mediums are being used to reach out? Bearing in mind that a lot of those who would require this intervention are likely not on this platform or network. Thank you. That's a question from one of the people online, Tafa.
Okay, well, I know about Serpin, and there are another couple of NGOs that are working in this field. So they do advocacy and reach out work. So it's slow progress, but I think these efforts are being done. I'm not sure what Ekaite and yourself also would like to share.
I know an organization called Land Health Initiative. People who are currently in my team. So they do where they treat people for most of the cases for, and for some of them is paid, but heavy. So I know of that platform. They have offices in Abuja, parts of Europe. So then I also know, like I mentioned, what we're doing here, Practice Hangout, we go from community to community. We've been to several states. We go to villages, schools. We just had, last week or 2 weeks ago, a debut Practice Hangout event at the Usman Dan Fodio University in Sokoto, where we brought in students, teachers to talk about mental health. So we're creating pockets of communities across the country, and we're open to partnerships with governments and other organizations. We had a partnership with Mayakoti Foundation, which is Maria Maliko's NGO. So there are, I'm going to drop my phone number now in the comments section, and you can reach me after this. I will find out more details about you, where you are. We can collect you. Mariam and I created a directory, an online directory of almost all practicing psychiatrists in the country. I think as at then, we had about, got their phone number. For some reason, there are numbers that we cannot put online. You know, I don't know if, but we have their contact. And what we've done is whenever people need help, they reach out to us. We'll find the person nearest to you. If there's anyone in your state or the nearest state to you. And in some cases, practices have even paid the bill for some people to get treatment. And sometimes we get the person to say, oh, I think it's free. So there are people who are trying to do efforts about our own platform. So there are people who are trying to do a lot of things outside the internet. And then there is, of course, you know, money online. Money has been helping Nigerians with this. So I can see that. I see that Mariam is back. Hello, Mariam. Are you with us now? Before we wrap up, so you can get some word in. Hello, Mariam. Let me ask her to unmute. Okay, she has unmuted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, Mariam, I can hear you, but you sound very distant.
Can you hear me better now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me better now? Hello?
Yes, I can hear you better. Can everyone hear Mariam?
Hello, everyone. I'm not going to take too much of your time. I know that, you know, we've gone very far. I wasn't able to connect. So what we have done in Mariakati is basically start conversations around mental health, especially for young people, because we realize that there's nobody listening to them. The support systems are not there. And one of the first, events that we had in terms of conversation was with Praxis. Praxis, Hangout supported us in actually starting the first conversation, and which is where, we had all sorts of different, mental health experts, especially, religious leaders, people working with women, and so on. And what we did at that time, as TJ mentioned, was for us to collect a directory, an online directory for, mental health practitioners in every state, because people didn't even know where to go to if they had such issues. I mean, doctors and clinics and hospitals and pharmacists are a dime a dozen on every street corner. But if the illness has something to do with your mind, that, is not available to you, you have to now start searching. And in most cases, the stigma for people to go on to, psychiatric hospitals and so on. And so, that directory is available. Of course, we can't put it online for reasons, of safety and security. And this directory was helped put together by Professor Aisha, Armayau in University of Jos doing fantastic work, and also part of SUPIN. Many people, need this help. When we have a broken leg, we go to the hospital, but when we have, our mind is broken, nobody wants to listen, nobody wants to know, and we treat it as some you've caused for yourself. So we'll keep the conversations going. We keep them online, work with work with many different people. And for now, I along with some individuals, have started supervision under some psychiatrists to actually get some counseling skills, how to intervene and help people. Because in Nigeria, there are only maybe about 200 mental psychiatrists to a population of 200 million. So that's one psychiatrist for 1 million people. You can imagine how impossible it is. So I think more people should get into this line of work. More people should actually, get the competencies that would allow us to be able to at least help people. Some people can't access even medicine, but they can access non-therapeutic or drug models, and they can have some kind of therapy going on with that. So I don't know if I've rushed and people are still are listening to me. TJ, are you still there? Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. I hope I've made some sense.
Oh, yes, yeah. Thank you very much for trying your best to make sure that you put in some work. So finally, we'll have to wrap up now so that we can move on to the next episode of the Lagos Book and Art Festival. Is Lagos with us?
Yes, we are here. We are here. Can you hear us?
Yes. So we'll have to wrap up now, and so that we can move on to the next thing. But before we do that, Ms. Aduke has a final part of her book to read. So we'll use that to close. And then I would like to, those interested can get their copies.
Okay, let me do that first. The book is called Unattending My Own Wake. It's published by Bookcraft, and it's available in most good bookshops. And also, Roving Heights, I believe you can order it from them online. Okay, I'm gonna end with this one. Okay. When they said they didn't know, remind them, please. Maybe I didn't exactly say the when, or the where, or the how, or the which. But I often did disclose the what I had become, the gentle, quiet unraveling of me, openly, a spectacle free for all, despite there being no singular why. They didn't listen. You couldn't hear. Shush, she's singing again. Hopefully, she's cleared her voice. Everyone deserves a second chance. And I'd like to thank TJ for, inviting me on this panel. I think it's just the beginning of these kind of important conversations. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gomez. I'm sure we're going to be in touch. I'm sure we're going to have further conversation and even collaborate on a couple more projects.
Absolutely. Sounds exciting.
So finally, I would like to say that we should all try our best to reach out to anyone on this matter and educate them further wherever we and whenever we can. Thank you all for coming on short notice.
Well,
and then I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much, TJ, Dan, Miriam, Aduke, and all those who took part in this session. Usually on the last day of the LABAF, we try to take other subjects that are not necessarily about books and art. So we love this. That's why we took NSAS in the morning, even though we linked it back to literature. So the issue of mental health is very important to us, and we're lucky that there's a book that's really addressing that particular issue. So thank you very much. I hope you don't disappear, because we are going to continue here for the Art Stampede. The Art Stampede is the last plenary in the LABAF. So that's what we want to have now. But this year, we're not really discussing literature. We're looking at 30 years of CORA. The Committee for Relevant Art was founded 30 years ago, last June. And So we want to examine what has happened. So we brought some of the founding fathers of CORA who have not been part of the LABAF, because LABAF came much later. So that's what we want to reflect on, what we've been doing for 30 years and to see what the future should be. So if you check your program, you see the plan, what we're doing now, and what's the future. So we want to hear from some of them. The theme was inspired by the first president of CORA, who is actually online. He's joining online. Some of the speakers are online, and I think only 3 people will be here, including someone who was the founder of CORA and who doesn't want to speak about CORA, but I've told the chairman to go and harass him. So if you see Mr. Atonya Akesho being grilled in the corner, he doesn't like it, but sorry, if you like, miss your own birthday. I would like to call on the, okay, thank you very much for that. I would like to call on the chairman of our governing board. Aduke, thank you very much, Aduke. And the book available here? How much? How much is it? Really? Okay. She's very generous.